Mike, I've been working on this legislation now for 2.5 years, and we started with the legislatures pretty much not even believing that this can be used for medical purposes, and there's been a great deal of attention on that in the press and otherwise. So right now, pretty much almost all the legislatures, at least all that I've spoken to, understand that. They understand the medicinal positive effects of cannabis. Some of them have trouble with just the political notion and the stigma, and we have to ask them to have a little bit of courage and step out a little bit and do this. Some are worried about the controls, and the act is very tight. It has very strict controls over patient use and how the medication will be cultivated and sold in the state, and indeed how to get into the program. A lot of legislators think, oh, well, anyone with a headache is now going to be able to get pot. And that's not true. For better or for worse, the bill in front of the legislators right now gets rid of just pain. You have to go into your doctor, who is your doctor for the particular condition. You have a bona fide ongoing relationship with that doctor, and it has to be that doctor who essentially prescribes the medication because that doctor, he or she, thinks that other medicines are not helping you, and this indeed would help. It's not the situation that we have out in California, and again, I'm not passing judgment, but we're a different state. And in California, you can go down to the corner and pay $250, pretty much no matter what your condition is, I understand it, and get admitted into the program, which has no oversight by the state or municipalities. Here we have a very tightly controlled bill, and you'd have to go to the doctor with just very specific conditions. Crones is one of them, MS is one of them, cancer, wasting from AIDS, that sort of thing. And your doctor has to set out a declaration for you that he or she is your doctor, that you will benefit by this, and it has to be signed under, essentially a sworn oath. It then has to go to a central state agency to admit you to the program, where you're going to get an ID, and they follow the purchases. Quite frankly, I've heard from patients, gosh, this is so tough, I'd rather just stay on the black market. And I understand that, but I think in terms of providing patients with safe access to safe medication, that the bill is a really important step in the right direction. We started with a bill that was tight, but was redrafted by Tom Cross and folks on the Republican side to be even tighter. We feel it is now the tightest bill in the country. So that concern should be alleviated. What we're talking about now is really a great opportunity for legislators. They can now do something to help people. They're not just getting out of problems like the pension problem. They're going to do something that is cost neutral to the state, that would be compassionate. And we have clergy down here urging this. We have all sorts of people outside the patient community who just care about the compassion notion, who want to find a way to try to help people who are really suffering. And Mike, I've met these people who have MS, degenerative spinal injuries, severe wasting because of AIDS, less so now we have that, but cancer treatments. These are people who are really suffering. I mean, they're not able to get down here and lobby on their own because they live with extraordinary pain. I mean, just anyone who's healthy, a legislator who's normally healthy, think about the day that you get the stomach flu and how it completely knocks you out and you can't even function that day. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about people who live in a constant state like that, and all we're asking legislators to do is to provide a clean, very safe mechanism for those folks to get some relief for their medical condition so they can get out and live their lives a little bit better and maybe enjoy a meal with their loved ones, get down in time for that, or get out and have someone drive them to their son or daughter or granddaughter's Little League game or something like that. I mean, that's what this is about. And the bill is drawn so this is all it can be about. It's not about getting pot out onto the street. So I hope people can take some comfort in that and, quite frankly, do what most people feel is the right thing. Science is now telling us, and we're talking about real science, not just anecdotal reports, but real double-blind, placebo-controlled studies are showing us that cannabis is actually helping with some of the underlying conditions. And the science is still out for some conditions like Crohn's disease, but for a condition like MS, it's actually helping the underlying condition and not getting worse. We see that it's having positive effects on cancer patients. It's killing cancerous brain cells and cancerous breast cancer cells. A lot of people don't realize that because they're not reading enough about it. I'm not sitting here claiming that this is a cure-all. I'm not claiming this is a panacea. The science doesn't support that. I go with the science. I try to help interpret the science for some of the legislators. So that's what we know. I refer to the safety profile. What we know is that this has been used for centuries, of course, but we have science studying use over decades. And we're finding that, I'm not suggesting it doesn't have any risks involved, but it is a relatively safe medication, much safer medication than what many of the patients are using to treat these conditions. We have some who say, I'm not going to vote for a bill that's sponsored by Lou Lang. There's not much we can do about that, other than I think that's really regrettable for legislators to not act compassionately for personal reasons, for vendettas or things that happened in the past, or maybe things that are happening right now with Mr. Lang. But the bill is a strong bill. We have spoken to a lot of legislators. We think we're right on the fence in terms of the vote. We just need a few more to follow the science, follow what the law really says, and act with a little bit of compassion for patients.